I'm going to show you strength exercises to fix a twisted pelvis or a pelvic rotation. I'm going to take you through all these exercises step by step and show you some variations that'll help you build the strength to hold your pelvis in the right place. So if your pelvis has been stuck in a rotation in either direction, this video is going to help you figure out what muscles you need to make stronger so you can stabilize your pelvis in a more neutral position. Previously, I made a video about stretches that'll help you with a twisted pelvis, which I'll link to at the end of this video. For all those who have already seen that video and commented and asked for this video about strength exercises for a twisted pelvis, thanks so much for your comment, and I hope this video helps you fix your twisted pelvis. Now, before we jump into these strength exercises for a pelvic rotation, I want to ask you a question. How does your pelvic rotation affect you? Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you've noticed. How has it affected your life? What have you tried? And what's worked well for you? Leave that comment down below. Now, let's talk about the first strength exercise. For this first exercise, you're going to lie down on the floor or use an exercise mat if it is uncomfortable to lie on your side. You're going to take a yoga block, just put it in front of you, and then you're going to lift your knees up towards the ceiling. This is going to fire the obliques and some of your hip muscles as you maintain this position. You're going to hold this for 30 seconds to a minute, get some fatigue in these obliques, and then when you're done on this side, go ahead and relax, bring them down, and then switch to the other side. When you do the other side, everything is the same. You're just going to hold that position 30 to 60 seconds, and then notice how they feel. Do the obliques on this side feel as strong as the obliques on the other side? If not, figure out which side is the weaker side and do an extra set of this for the weaker side. If you're not sure which side is stronger, which side is weaker, then what you can do is make the exercise harder. So when you lift up like this, you can extend your knees so that the lever is now longer and now your obliques have to work harder. This is a great way to make the exercise harder, and you're going to feel muscles working to keep you here. Then you flip to the other side, see what happens. Maybe on one side you notice, it's not super duper hard, and on the other side it's crazy hard, and that is going to be your weaker side. Then you want to go into the easier version and keep building strength until you find you can hold that harder position on both sides equally well. This exercise will really highlight any asymmetries in strength on your obliques, and that's a big deal when it comes to the position of your pelvis. The obliques are very important because they help determine how your ribs and your pelvis are related to one another. So if your obliques can't keep your ribs and your pelvis lined up, then you're going to have a twisted pelvis. Exercise number 2 is to work on your hamstring strength one leg at a time. Again, we're looking for asymmetries in control and strength. So stand next to a wall or grab a stick or something to help you balance, and you're just going to do a one-legged Romanian deadlift or straight leg deadlift. It's just basically you're just hinging at the hips, right? You're creating a bend right at the hip joint and you're folding forward there. Okay, so we're going to just go down as low as we can go and then back up. As you're doing this, you want to make sure that your spine is maintaining a good position, so it's not just curling like this. Okay, we're actually trying to make sure that the spine stays in about the same shape the whole time and that the hamstrings are lengthening and then working to bring us back up without any crazy wobbling or cheating in body English, right? So common cheat is you go down and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna arch to make this a little easier, and then come back up. Maintain the same shape in your spine the whole time. You're gonna do that for 5 to 10 reps on each leg. Pay attention to which side is more controlled and which side is stronger. If you notice that one side is weaker than the other side, do an extra set for that weaker side. So for example, if my right leg is like, oh yeah, I'm solid, easy, and in fact I can do this without any help, great. But then you switch to the left side and you're like, do 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 do, whoa, whoa, whoa. Then you know your left leg needs more work. You can regress the exercise, use some more help, and just smooth out the motion. Okay, you want to have volition at every position. You want strength at every length. So don't rush through it. Make sure if you find any weird sticky spots that just feel out of control that you slowly work through them. Now, one way to make this exercise harder and more effective for you is to grab a dumbbell. Start off with 5 to 10 pounds and you can still use the help, okay? We don't need to get rid of the help just yet. You can just use that extra load, still use the assistance. The weight is gonna make your hamstrings work harder. It's gonna make your brain talk to your hamstrings more. It's gonna help you find the coordination to do the exercise. So once you get better at it with some weight, then guess what? Doing it without weight becomes a lot easier. And you can just keep loading up and adding weight to this exercise by using a heavier and heavier dumbbell. For some people, having the back leg extended so far may be a little bit hard. You can use other variations too. Instead of floating the back leg, you could just put it right next to the working leg and then focus on working on that, ooh yeah, hip strength. Or you can put your foot on something that rolls or slides and you can do the deadlift that way using the help of that rolly slidey thing. Whatever feels comfortable and controllable for you, anything that lets you actually feel the right muscles working is a-okay. Hey, I want to give a shout out to my assisting muscles, Donald, Sandy, Karen, and Sal. Thank you all so much for becoming supporting members of the Upright Health YouTube channel. If you want to support me too, hit the thanks or join button or use the PayPal and Patreon links you'll find in the description box. Now let's get back to your twisted pelvis. The next two exercises are going to work on your outer and inner thighs. So look again for asymmetries. If you find a weaker side, then make sure you build the strength on that weaker side. So you're just going to be lying down again on your exercise mat or on the floor. Ankle weight is foreshadowing. We're going to be lifting this leg up towards the ceiling. Now, I've got my leg in extension, meaning it's in line with the rest of my body, but we can experiment, find different angles, look for angles that are difficult. If you find bringing your foot here is like, oh my God, it's so hard, I can't, then great, fantastic, work on it there. Explore, find angles, do repetitions, 10 to 20 repetitions to figure out what is weak, what does not know how to work. Then you can switch sides. Okay, you go to the other side, same stuff. Start it in line, check it here, do 10 to 20. Maybe tomorrow you move it forward, whatever. Explore, there's no super correct right answer here, just explore and figure out what's weak. Maybe it's right here. This feels kind of weak on me right now, which it's actually not a new thing. Okay, and then I'm just gonna work here, work here, work here, and then I feel like maybe the left side is weaker than the right side. Then that means tomorrow, or maybe the next day when I do this again, I'm gonna work an extra set on that weaker side. Or, you know, today, maybe I just take a little rest and then work that weaker side. The key thing to remember is that the weaker side always needs extra work, so give it an extra set. So that means you start with the weaker side, do the strong side, then go back to the weak side if you're trying to be time efficient. If you're not trying to be time efficient, then you would do strong side, weak side, rest, and then do the weak side again. You can also play with other angles in this exercise. So you could try rotating so the foot is pointing up or rotating so the foot is pointing down. And again, mess around, see what your body likes to do, see what it doesn't like to do. When you have a pelvic rotation or twisted pelvis, the femurs and the hip joints are doing different things relative to the pelvis. That means, for example, if I have a pelvic rotation where my pelvis is pointing to the right, this right hip is actually an internal rotation and this left hip is an external rotation. If I were in neutral, then we're in full neutral, but if I twist, then this is what's happening, right? The femur is here, femur is there, pelvis is there. What that means is the muscles around the hip joints are doing something different and are better at certain motions than others. So you may find when you're doing these exercises that changing up the rotation on one side is a lot easier maybe on the left and a lot harder on the right. But it might be flipped because maybe it's easier to go external on this side, but it's really hard to go internal on this side. It's just going to depend on how your pelvis is twisted and what the muscles around your pelvis are used to doing. Which now brings us to the inner thighs. So you're going to be lying back down, you're going to take your foot and just plant it, and you're going to be lifting that leg up towards the ceiling. You can again explore, feel the inner thigh muscles contract, rainbow around, find an angle somewhere through this nice rainbow of possibility, and you're just going to be firing those muscles, doing it over and over again until you feel fatigue. Find a weak spot, a wobbly place. Maybe you're like, oh my goodness, I can barely hold this thing. That's where you want to be working. And then check the other side, see what that other side can do. If it doesn't have that wobbly spot, if it feels like, okay, easy, 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 then you know that the inner thighs on that left side are super weak and you got to pay attention to those. Same thing with this exercise. You can play around with the rotations, external, internal, see what your body wants to do. And with both of these exercises, you can use a weight, an ankle weight. Throw it on your thigh to start with. That's going to be easier. And then throw it all the way down to the ankle to make it harder. And of course, if you're going to do it for the inner thighs, same rules apply. Lie down, put it near the knee. That's going to be easier. And then when you want it to be harder, go ahead and put it right at the ankle, and it's going to be super hard. Finally, we want to do something to build the strength in our thighs, one side at a time, so we can find any asymmetries. We're going to be building strength at every length. So to do this, we're going to elevate our front foot, put it on stairs or a couch like this. You're going to hold on to something to help you balance, whatever it is, I don't care. Then you're going to start traveling forward. Try to keep this back leg straight as you can, so you're going to get a hip flexor stretch, and this knee is going to work on going deep into flexion and then push you out of the position. So we're stretching here, building strength at length, and here we're building strength at length in a different way near the knee. So our quads are working to push us in and out, our hip flexors are working at a lengthened position, and then we're coming back out. So here you can do sets of 5 to 10. Do 2 sets on each side, at least, maybe 3 if you're feeling up to it. And then make sure that you do an extra set for that weaker side. Take adequate rest when you're doing this exercise, because if you don't, you will fry your knees or fry your hip flexors, and you're just going to collapse into a ball of pain. To make this exercise harder and to build more muscle, hold on to some dumbbells and go through the full range of motion. Really focus on feeling the knee working, focus on feeling the hip flexors working, and maintain your balance without falling over. And the more flexible your hip flexors get and the stronger your front leg gets, the lower and lower you can go to the floor. So instead of using a high surface, you can use a lower surface, and then just keep working on getting that hip extension, getting that hip flexor to let go, getting the knee to be able to work, those knee muscles being able to work, get you in and out until you can do it on the floor. But frankly, for me, I feel like it's always better to have just a little bit of elevation, because it really seems to just, I don't know, feel better. Maybe it's because my hip flexors are tight from sitting around on YouTube all the time. Another strength building option that doesn't challenge the hip flexors quite so much is to do a rear foot elevated split squat. So you just have your foot up on a couch or bench, and then you work on lowering yourself down and back up like this. This will focus mostly on building the strength right near the knee, and that's cool. If you feel like one side is weaker than the other, obviously do an extra set for the weaker side. If you want to turn this more into a stretch for the back leg, then lean back, tuck your pelvis, and then really feel that stretch as you go down. Feel this muscle work, feel the muscles in the back thigh stretch, but just be careful while you're doing it, especially if you're holding on the weight. All these exercises together will be one solid workout for your legs and hips. If you haven't been doing hip and leg workouts recently, or maybe ever in your memory, then it's a good idea to start off slow, because slow is safe and fast is foolish. You can do all these exercises as one workout, and I would just start off doing this workout twice a week, maybe Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Saturday, something like that, so you have adequate rest in between. And then as you feel comfortable, you can bump it up a little bit, but there's probably no reason to exceed 3 or 4 times a week. 4 times a week is probably already pushing it. These strength exercises are also not for everyone. If you are really stiff and inflexible, you should not be focusing on building more strength on a stiff, inflexible body. This strength workout for your twisted pelvis also assumes that you have baseline flexibility. If you are not flexible in your hips, you should also incorporate stretching. If you haven't been doing stretches for your pelvic rotation, I strongly encourage you to check out this video here. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the join or thanks button down below, or use the Patreon or PayPal links you'll find in the description box. Like, share, and subscribe with the bell notification on, and as always, I hope you remember that pain sucks, life shouldn't.